Hello, my name is Tanya Nelson, and I'm London Area Director at Arts Council England. And I'm really delighted to be here to speak to our colleagues today from the Kindermuseum Creaviva, which is part of Zentrum Paul Klee. Really exciting projects that you've done. And I just want to invite you just to start off by introducing yourselves and your organization.
My name is Pia Ladra. I'm the leader of Children's Museums Creaviva.
My name is Katja Lang. I'm responsible for the programs in the Creaviva.
And my name is Nadine Schneider. I am the project leader of a project called Hand in Hand in Creaviva. This project is an inclusion project to include people with disability in the museum.
The Children's Museum Creaviva has been founded almost 20 years ago. We are an independent unit within the Center of Art, Culture and Education in the Zentrum Paul Klee. This idea to establish a Children's Museum Creaviva is based on the vision that children and adolescents be given the opportunity to experience art and culture by their own creativity. Our artists and educators lead courses and workshops in our 3 big, very generously furnished and light-fluted art studios. Every year we have more than 10,000 school kids participating in our workshops, and we are very well known for our open studio and our interactive exhibition.
Great, fantastic. Can you just tell us a little bit about your award-winning project?
Yes, please permit me to make one preliminary remark, because we didn't apply for one only project, but for the Creaviva as an organization as a whole. And it's because of that Nadine is also with us today. Because I wanted to show that we as Creaviva are very open to adapt to constantly changing situation, and that we are remaining pioneers, although we are already 20 years on market. So, but we are specifically, we wanted to show a project that was a co-creative project. We co-created an exhibition with a group of children. And this was really an experience for everybody, for the children and our team. About the aims, why did we do this project? It was an idea of one of our curators. It was Martin Waldmeier, who asked us about our expertise to work with children, because that is our USP. And this opportunity fitted perfectly to our goal to work closer with our public, to work really with children, and not to have program for children, but to work with them or learn from them. And because of that, we applied for a label that is, this name is Home of 21st Century Education. And there are some criteria I use as guidelines to maintaining being pioneers. And it's because of that this project from the curator fitted very good to our goals we had. So this was very important. The idea was a curator, but it really fitted to our strategically or goals that we have in mind where we want to go in the future.
So, I mean, what I understand is, this was really about co-creation with children. So it's empowering children to make decisions, to design the exhibition and the kind of program that they want to see. Can you tell me a little bit about some more of the innovations in this project? Like how do you work with the children in a way that empowers them?
So I gave the word to Katja, because he is our person who has really pedagogical and didactic background. And this was very, very important for this project, because if you are working with children, you have to give them amount of work they really can do, and they have to have fun by doing this work. So this was very important preparation work for the whole team, and we couldn't do this without Katja's know-how.
Great.
Yes, working with children is our daily business, so we were quite delighted when Martin asked us to join him with this theme, with this idea, and to let children have a view on Paul Klee's artwork is not that far away, because for Paul Klee himself, it was always very important to have the view of children on his art. So what we did is we invited to have a group of children that would come to us regularly. Each Wednesday afternoon, we had them for 3 hours, staying with us and getting to know not only Paul Klee and his work, but also each other and our museum. So we started a lot with building a group and giving them a place within the group. And they were less of the age, they had their position. So it was more important to us to let them feel comfortable in the first place than to get to know all the biography of Paul Klee. Mm-hmm. We played a lot with them. We ate together. We did games, lots of information parts we put into games. We played a lot. We did role games and pantomime and drawing and painting. So we had different approaches to Paul Klee's work, so that they felt satisfied in the end to have the choice of what they like and what their theme is going to be the topic of our exhibition.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting with children about, incorporating that sense of play and, not overburdening them with lots of information right from the start, but really getting them kind of engaged and feeling it's a fun experience. But could you say a little bit about what were the challenges or difficulties associated with delivering this project?
Mm-hmm. We had a group of very independent children from 8 to 12 years old. So that was one of the challenges, to give them a voice, all of them. We have shy children and more exploring children. So that was one of the challenges, to give them their place within the group. Then we were just seeing them once a week. We had always to get them again together in our topic of Paul Klee or whatever we're working with it. So they had the daily life and school and homework next to it. Another challenge was the length of how long it's going to take to make this whole exposition, because we thought them for 10 months. And to keep them going on, there were different phases. It wasn't always fun. There was lots of work also. And so we had to come them back and stay with us. We also let them sign a contract, also the parents. So they really were responsible to come back from the beginning to the end.
Wow.
For me, I was very impressed because the children, they were very fast in decision making. They loved that. They are really very fast, and they are very sure that when they decided, yes, that it's what we want.
Yeah.
But if they had to explain why did you choose this picture and not another, then it becomes really hard work. So that's something that they didn't like, and they had to sometimes explain a bit why. But they were really great in decision making.
Oh, wow. That's really fantastic. And it sounds like a great positive of the project, that they instinctually kind of knew what they wanted, and then were thinking about, okay, what is the reasoning behind my decision? But they knew instinctively what they wanted, which is fantastic. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with keeping them engaged with the project over a 10-month period is really, really impressive. I mean, are there other things that, were positives about the project, or things that surprised you maybe about that you weren't expecting related to the project?
Well, I think the most surprising part was actually the choice of the main work, because we reckoned that they would have more a relation to natural studies or portrait or colorful works. And in the end, they chose a main work that was completely abstract we developed a new history behind this work, but only by chance. We didn't know that in the beginning. So we were surprised about that and how they got to this one meaning. They really made this choice together.
I know that there would be many other museums who'd be really interested to learn from you. And I was just wondering if you could say a little bit about the skills maybe that you need in order to be able to deliver something in which children feel empowered to co-create with you.
I think one of the points is that we were really a group of experts. We were experts in pedagogy. We were experts in curating. We had an expert in social work with neighborhood. We had an expert. So there were so many skills coming together that we could use and learn from each other, that you always could also step up, a step behind, and you didn't have always to lead. We were a whole group of teachers and educators together, and there were different parts in which we could share positions. And that for me was one of the big learnings, that we could really learn from each other and profit from each other.
Great.
And if I think about the qualities you have to have in a process where you are co-creating, if you do participatory projects, one of the most important is you have to listen. You have to listen what the other is saying, what the children are saying. You have to take seriously what they have said, or you have to keep your promises you gave. I think that's very, very important. You have to be very clear what is possible, what is not possible, because they accept this. It's not a problem, but you have to say it. And it has to be a good mix between planning and staying open-minded for the process. And this is, I think this is for me, the hardest thing it was to not to over-plan, but to keep the project open. But you have this result you have to have, because we didn't have an exposition from children for children. We have a co-created exposition for everybody. It was the big summer exposition in the Centrum Paul Klee. It has to be for everyone, for tourists, for adults, for children. So we had this goal in mind always. It has to be very high quality, and you have to do it, or we wanted to do it with the children. So it was not so easy.
No, but I mean, I'm really impressed in the sense that, yes, sometimes, I mean, many museums try to do co-creation with communities of different types. And sometimes those are thought of as separate from the real exhibitions. And what you've done is created something working with children that is of high enough quality that was your main exhibition. And I also really like what you say about the fact that, you give them the information they need and you tell them the constraints, and they accept that. I have experience with that in museums as well, is that when you bring people on, if you say, these are the things we can do and these are the things we can't do, they often, they can work with that, and they're happy to work with that when they know that's a constraint. So that's really interesting part of what you've done.
They learned a lot here also for their life. They learned to argue. They learned all the people that are working in museums. What are they doing? How do they work together? You have to choose a lot, or you have to make a lot of decisions, and you have to cooperate with everybody. So they learned for life, I think.
And can you say a little bit about the role of digital technology? Was digital involved in your project at all?
No, not too much, actually. No, we were really very much hands-on. In the end, we showed a film, because there was a film guy who joined us during different stages of this development. And we put together a film for 1 hour length, but that's the only, and we had here stations as well. That's digital, yes. We discovered a story on the back of this main artwork that we showed at the entrance. And we developed a story about Paul Klee and his son's girlfriend. And we told this story in 12 stations, and this was told by children. So you could go through the exposition from position to position and hear a bit of this story told by children.
Oh, great. So there's an audio part of the experience in which the children were telling the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that's really great. I mean, we live in a generation now where young people are so attached to their phones, their mobile phones, or, you know, did you have a problem with that, of getting people to detach from technology in order to focus on the project?
No, because our strengths, we are really known for our analog and interactive art education. So we are not really very digitally, but we have learned a lot about during Corona pandemic, and we also incorporated augmented reality in some formats, but not in this project.
Okay.
So we wanted really to work analog. We, as I already mentioned, we tried out a lot of methods. We worked on models, we worked on plans. They have to measure the room by their feet or with something. So they really were hands-on. They have to experience really hands-on. And that's really also a quality that is very our USP for CreaViva. We wanted also to include persons with blind persons or with visual impairment. So we constructed the main picture, as Katja already mentioned, as a tactile object, so that also blind people can see or experience this main project. And because of Nadine is also here, it's something that we are very aware of, that we are working structurally with impaired person. We not only make programs for people with disabilities, but they are part of our team. And perhaps Nadine could take some words about that.
Yes, I think the CreaViva has a long experience in making our art workshops accessible for everybody. So the team has had extensive training in how to make the art workshops accessible. We have a very big collection of materials, adapted materials so people with different disabilities can experience art and can make art in our workshops. So because we have to be accessible for everybody. And we also focus, in addition to that our team is diverse. And because people with disability get forgotten many times, way too often, and they're very much underrepresented in the workforce and in leading positions as well. So we had this project where we employed 5 people with different disabilities. Most of them are artists themselves, and they lead workshops for adults and for children as well, where they make their art with the people attending the workshop. And this for us is or at least in Switzerland, this is very new and innovative. It's done way too little. And it has a big impact, I think, a social impact for the children without disability. They see that disability is a normal thing, that people lead a workshop like this. They have the experience or they have the opportunity to experience a person leading this workshop. And for children with disability who attend the workshop, it's very important as well, because they see themselves represented in these positions, and they can think of themselves maybe one day doing something similar, which is very important to us.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. It's really an interesting way to think about inclusion and making the museum inclusive to all types of people, which I think is really, really important and a main mission for all museums around the world. Well, can you just tell me a little bit about the legacy of this work? Like, what will you do next? Now that you've done this, what's the next big project?
So the next big project is that we want to have the children also as part of our team. So we want to build up or establish a Kinderrat, a council, a children's council. So this work that we already done in this part of inclusion, we now want to make with the children, so that they are really part of the team. And we are on the run to establish such a children's council, because we have seen what pleasure the children had to be part of the team, because they had a badge as a curator during this 10 months that they worked with us. And we have seen how proud they are to open the exposition, to talk about the exposition to their parents and relatives. So we want to go further on and have much more children that can participate and work with us in future.
Great, fantastic. That sounds like an amazing initiative. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and want to congratulate you on your recognition for your very, very good work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for talking to us.